Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
The information contained within this podcast does not consider your personal circumstances and is of a general nature only. You should not act on it without first obtaining professional financial advice specific to your circumstances.
Paul Atherton is an ex-Wall Street advisor on a mission to help young people win back their financial power, wealth and security. He does this by helping them understand the hidden world of finance, risk and investments, helps them figure out how it impacts them, and to seize the opportunities to make it work to their advantage. This is Paul Street Journal. I'm here this morning with Paul Atherton. How are you, Paul?
Yeah, I'm good, Tim.
It's good to hear. I'm really curious to know, how are you feeling about the global economy?
Oh, yeah. Good question. Yeah, I think I give so many people so many warnings that people kind of tend to think I'm somewhat maybe mildly negative or pessimistic about the market, but it's actually absolutely not true. I'm very positive. I just try and help people not make some more obvious mistakes. But yeah, I think we're in an incredibly exciting time, and there's a great quote by Peter Lynch, and I'll quote it to you. More money has been lost trying to anticipate and protect from corrections than actually in them. So more money, and I really believe in that. One of the worst things one of the worst states of mind to negatively impact your wealth is being a pessimist. Like, optimists always win in the market, because over the long run, the stock market does incredibly well. So one of the worst things you can do from a wealth creation perspective is feel nervous all the time, listen to all the doomsayers, and just step out of the market. I mean, we just had a GFC, right, 10 years ago, and it was like the worst meltdown we've had in 80 years, and we stand here today in at the back end of 9 years of a bull market. And I know people that have stayed out of the market because I've been so fearful since the GFC, which is a shame. So stay optimistic is the answer. But let me tell you why, because if you look at the last couple of hundred years, well, what have we had? We've had these things what I call what is known as market disruptions. We've had these huge market disruptions, and they had a massive positive impact on our life and the global economy and the GDP, and therefore the stock market. If we were, just going back to the year 1900, and if you took a picture of Fifth Avenue, and there is a great picture, I've seen it recently, where there's that if you looked at down the street of Fifth Avenue, you'd see only horses, right? Horse-drawn carriages, and why wouldn't you? Because for the preceding since before 1900, for the preceding 1,000 years or 10,000 years, everything was powered by horses. A horse was a mode of transportation. And then, can you imagine the market disruption of the internal combustion engine? So there's a picture then, about 10 years later, of every single car on the road is an internal combustion engine car. So all the horses are gone, and they're all replaced by a modern car. Now, what this requires is a total build-out of a new industry, a new manufacturing industry, the oil industry, building out all the roads, all the infrastructure. Massive development had to take place just to accommodate this new world. And it happened all within 10 years. You see, people forget. Disruptions happen really, really quickly. And the classic story, as I tell, is that in 1985, AT&T, which was the behemoth in the telecommunications industry, did this study. And they said they got McKinsey, I think. They paid the best and the brightest. They said, look, we got this new thing called a mobile phone. We've seen it. It's shaped somewhat like a brick. And we think it's going to be popular, but, you tell us. Go do your research. And they did. So they came back, after studying and researching, pouring all their hours of the best and the brightest. These are people in the industry, by the way. This is their bread and butter. It's what they do. And they came back and they said, listen, AT&T, by the year 2000, we're expecting 900,000 mobile phones on the market. Now, if you want to know what the real number was, it was 109 million, right? So how could you possibly be that far off? Like, it just boggles the mind. Now, of course, a more recent one, one of my favorites is the iPhone, right? And that came out, and I don't know if you remember, but I remember reading, There was a classic quote from the CEO of Microsoft at the time, Steve Ballmer, who said, it's going to be a big loser. You guarantee it. Why? Because it's very expensive. And now, of course, within 10 years, probably even less, everybody's on the smartphone, right? Mm-hmm. So Google came out with Android and iPhone, of course, same time. No surprise there. So this complete market disruption. Nokia, which was reigning king, dead, gone. Same with BlackBerry, if you remember them. So market disruptions are massive, and what it does to the global economy is phenomenally positive. I mean, it's just massive. So I know there are more market disruptions happening, and the reason you don't understand it, I don't feel like there's a new iPhone. What's the new thing? Well, here it is, because it follows an S-curve. So there's slowly improvements. And I say slowly, actually, there's significant improvements, but it doesn't impact your life until one day it does. And when it does, that's when market disruption happens. So, and I'll just go down two industries, the energy and transportation sector. Now, because of the just continuous improvements of battery storage and the continuous improvement of solar energy, the rate at which they can store solar energy and capture that has been improving close to doubling every 2 years. Close to doubling every 2 years. So can you imagine that? If you close to double every 2 years, what does that mean? Well, I tell you what it means. So a regular combustion car in the United States would cost, I use the United States because it's the numbers I've seen, so you'll have to scale that for Australia prices, but to run a car would cost about $15,000 per 5 years. Okay, so that's about $3,000 a year, about $50 odd a week. So I don't know. That's probably quite cheap for me as a cheap car. Maybe it's somewhat double that here. But point is, for electrical energy, yeah. So if I were to store that energy and now use it, now it's going to cost me. Any guess?
No.
Want to have a guess? All right, I'll tell you. So $1,500. Yeah. So now you've just done a 10x. Now that changes the equation. Now there are some that are saying it's going to come down to, now get this. This is a classic, right? $150. So we're talking 100x.
Over 5 years.
So over 5 years. So effectively free, right? Now what is that like? So an example I give to people is, imagine you went into McDonald's and ordered a burger for $5 and they said, gee, you came at a good time because we just made this new process and the burgers are now 5 cents. Well, imagine if you called up a pizza that's normally $20 and they said, you've called us at a great time, pizzas are now 20 cents. So what do? What does that do? How transformative is that? It just changes everything. And the thing is, and this is about electrical vehicles, right? So you change from an internal combustion engine to electrical vehicles. You've changed from $15,000 over a 5 year period to $1,500 or maybe even less. But to make an electrical car, now this is a fantastic thing. So my little car that I parked outside, Tim, has about 2,000 moving components, right? So you need a serious company. Usually most of these companies were originally at one stage backed by a government, there's government backing, there's serious money behind this, okay? How many moving components do you think there are in an electrical car?
Is it one?
No, not quite. There's more.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I mean, the motor's just
There are
one
about
bit.
20.
Okay.
Yeah?
Brushes
so now
and
we're
stuff.
down to 100 times again. Okay, so there's 20 times. Now, that changes who can make an electrical car, right? That changes the whole landscape. Now, pretty much anybody does. So there was a case where this university students built a car that built the Porsche Spider, and I think the Porsche Spider is the fastest 0 to 100, or 0 to 60 as our American friends say, 0 in about 3-ish seconds, and they built an electrical car, university students, that did it in about 1.68. I mean, that's the type of acceleration that would hurt, I would suppose.
Yeah.
Now, what does this mean that if university students, well, guess what? So I think this is a classic, is Dyson, the manufacturer of vacuum cleaners, is getting into the electrical car business.
Wow.
So the game has completely changed. So we've got energy, storage, mobility, we've got the ability to manufacture cars. We've got a storage of energy doubling every 2 years at the pace, and it's going to happen quick because these things do not happen slow. Remember what they said about the iPhone. I can just imagine what they would have said about the car. No one's going to replace my horse, you know. You can just picture that. So this is coming along, and it's coming on very quickly. Now, there are estimations, so I did a bit of research on this, what this new revolution in just energy and transportation is going to happen on the global economy, and it's probably about $2 trillion. Now, I personally think it's probably going to be an underestimation, because we always do. We underestimate. $2 trillion. So that's much larger than the Australian economy. You know, it's
unfathomable.
Yeah, and it's going to happen in 10 years, right? So, and I'm not saying, by the way, go out and buy Tesla shares. But what I'm saying is, if this happens, you know, that's great news. If anything like this happens, the boost to the global economy is going to be profound, and that means you've got to be in the stock market in some capacity to partake in the new revolution, the new market disruption. So be in it.
Far out. That's very, very interesting. Well, thank you for your opinions and feelings, and
No problem.
We'll catch you next time.
Cheers.
Paul Street Journal.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.